Hi, I'm Stefan for ANDROIDPIT. I'm standing here at the Samsung Unpacked event in London, and next to me is Rory O'Neill. You're the Vice President of Brand for Samsung Europe. And what did we see today? What are the big news?
So first of all, delighted to bring the Galaxy S8 and Galaxy S8 Plus to Europe. I mean, first of all, we have to talk about the incredible Infinity display and the brand new design that we think is going to wow consumers, because we finally made a big screen phone that is easy to use in one hand. But of course, it's not just the design. We've made that screen amazing because we know that consumers like you and I like to watch great content on our smartphones. So our great screen now allows people to watch the mobile HDR, the first phone ever to support mobile HDR, bright colors, bright screen, bright content on an 18.5:9 aspect ratio. So we've removed the pillar box from the phone and people are going to be able to watch great content.
Is that a reason also why the fingerprint sensor is now on the back, that you need the estate on the phone for the screen?
Well, we continue to push the boundaries at Samsung, of course, and we're fundamentally rethinking design every time we make a new smartphone. So whether it's the removal of the home button, there's no home button anymore, it's actually underneath the glass, and we've moved the fingerprint scanner to the back because actually it's just a lot easier for people to unlock their phone with their finger at the back of the phone. So it's all designed to make people and make their smartphones just a little bit more easy and make people's lives just a little bit easier, a little bit more simpler, a little bit more vibrant, and of course a lot more fun.
But there is a new button on the phone that's for Bixby. Why was the decision to use a button for that and not voice control for Bixby?
Well, first of all, I mean, if you think about interfaces that we as consumers use for consumer electronics now, some are dictated by voice, of course, many now, but they're designed really to help with e-commerce, or they're designed to help with search, or they're designed to help you navigate through an OS, whether it's mobile or whether it's on a desktop. So we wanted to design an interface that was exactly what you need when you're mobile. Not whether you're on Samsung or not, but when you're mobile. So that means we had to make a multi-nodal interface. So when you're mobile, you'll bounce between Google Maps and Google Mail and a browser and your phone and your camera. You're multi-nodal. So we wanted to make a hardware button, a touch button, touch interface, a text interface, a voice interface. And what's important with our interface is that you can bounce between text and voice and button and hardware and not hardware, and actually still get a great experience with your phone. So Bixby's unique because it's multi-nodal. Yes, it's got a hardware button, but it's done because you always need that when you're mobile.
Okay, so what is the general trend? Because for me, I was expecting in some areas of the S8 and the S8 Plus, I was expecting a bit more, for example, regarding camera, and there was not so much talk about hardware, well, you announced that the processor has a 10 nanometer, is a 10 nanometer processor now, and there was some talk about the hardware, but it was not the focus of attention in the presentation. Is that because the focus is actually moving away from the phone, that the phones are kind of finished? It's like a finished product, and there's only so much new that you can do in the phone universe itself, but there's more space around it to expand. What is the outlook there?
Well, I think that's a great debate. I mean, I don't think the phone is finished. I mean, I think the fact that we put the world's first 10 nanometer processor into a phone means that we can increase the CPU by 10%, we can increase the graphics processing unit by 20%, and when you're watching great content, those things matter. It's just as important to us to have a 256 gigabit storage card as it is to have a great camera. But let's talk about the camera experience on the Galaxy S8. So sure, it's a 12 megapixel dual pixel camera, with f1.7 aperture lens. But what's new on the camera is a multi-frame image processor, which is a lot to say, but what it means is every time you press the button to take a picture, we take 3 or 5 or 7 pictures to optimize the picture, reduce the blurring. And I think consumers in Europe care less about whether it's a 12 megapixel or a 5 megapixel or an 8 megapixel. They care about a great photo, and they want to take that photo really fast. So, the rear camera is upgraded with that new technology. The front camera is upgraded with an 8 megapixel camera, but with new autofocus with facial recognition, so it takes us that selfie just a lot faster. So that's all new innovation. But look, you're right. I mean, one of the things that we've spent a lot of time doing is pushing what phones can do. And we want phones to be more than cameras. We want them to be more than screens. We want them to be more than great design. We want phones to be at the center of how people interact with consumer electronics. So with Samsung DeX, for example, we're taking a phone plus a docking station and a display and making that a computer of the future for the office. We're taking Samsung Connect and Samsung Connect Home and making the phone the center of how you interact with your robotic vacuum cleaner or your fridge. Those are just as important innovations now for European consumers. And then, of course, let's not forget our push into virtual reality or 360 film. With the new Gear 360, there's live streaming direct to Facebook and live streaming direct to YouTube. So that's incredible new innovations for a phone. And we know that that's how people are going to share memories going forward. So that's a huge part of the storytelling of what people will do. So there's a lot left in what phones can do that maybe isn't inside the phone, but it's all about what the experience of a phone will become.
How is the philosophy there for Samsung? Is it going to be an open system where everyone can join, or for example, can I use my Samsung Connect Home to control or to have a look inside of my Bosch or Siemens refrigerator to see what's there? Yeah. Is Samsung going to build a closed ecosystem, or is it going to be open?
Yeah, great question. Well, first of all, and you'd expect me to say it, but the technology matters less to the experience. The great thing about being at Samsung is we're not confined to an ecosystem philosophy. We use, a Samsung engineer has the freedom to use a chipset, or hardware, or software, or components that makes a great experience. So it's why, yes, we have a great partnership with Google and Android for the Samsung Galaxy S8. We have just a greater partnership with Microsoft for the Galaxy Book that we announced in Barcelona, which is obviously a Windows 10 device. And we use our own technology in our TVs and our watches because that's the right experience for those devices. So the great thing is we have freedom at Samsung to deliver a great experience, and we're not locked into an ecosystem. It is our philosophy that we live in an open world, and that open world presents barriers, and that open world presents boundaries, and you saw Samsung's philosophy, right? Like, we want to push through those boundaries, we want to defy those barriers, we want to make sure that we keep making things that enable people to do new things and do things they've never done before. And just as important for us to have a great philosophy around the ecosystem as it is for us to be able to put an ostrich and a VR headset in a film and show people that you can do new things, right? That's the brand.
Okay, I have one question to finish up. What has Samsung done to ensure the safety of the Galaxy S8 regarding the battery?
Well, look, I mean, Samsung is a brand for innovation, as we talked about, and we learned a lot from the Note 7 phone. We learned a lot from that whole experience. We've put in a new 8-point battery check, which includes heat testing right the way through to X-ray testing. So those phones are as safe as they can ever be as they come through our quality assurance lab. So we learned a lot from that process. We've introduced new 8-point battery checks. We've changed the way that we make phones, design phones from the ground up right the way through our factories, and put in new quality assurance programs to make sure that those phones are 100% safe. And of course, we're committed to quality because that's the cornerstone of a great experience. We've got to get that quality right so we can push the boundaries of innovation and give consumers new experiences with their phones.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And then I wish you a successful event. And it was a pleasure to be able to be here.
Great.
Thank you very
Evan.
much.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.